Okay, so before we get into this, I want to acknowledge a few people, and you'll see why in a minute. But uh, I think you know from time to time, Fred and I have a little joke going on about I have a guy, and that stems from many years ago that Fred visited a layout, and it's like, oh, nice backdrop. Did you do it? No, I got a guy. And a little while later, nice building over there. Did you do that? Nah, I got a guy. Well, it comes to find out that the owner of this layout did very, very little because he had guys. I do have sweat equity in my layout, but I do have guys. And a couple of them here in the room, Stan White,
I understand that. I said,
Bob Kukler, uh, uh, lately Craig Hatter, and then um, uh, uh, Chris Broughton has made the layout what it is, and I thank him very much for that. I'm saying that because the Buffalo Engine facility was mostly Steve Lasher's deal. And this area that we're going to see today was probably the first one that Steve helped me spend my money and said, we need to do something about this. We, mostly him, but I did have some work on this. Anyway, so question for those of you that operated on my layout, besides my layout, who's done ops someplace where your motive power is already tied on to your train? Okay. So that's the same what I found that whether it's been West Coast, up in Indy, Cincinnati, that most of the layouts that I've operated on, your train is already, or your motive power is already tied onto your train. It maybe comes out of the staging or the yard, you do your work, it goes into maybe the same or a different staging, not on my layout. So we're going to find out that the engine facility is not only a place to run our motive power to be serviced, but we're going to find out that it also is a wealth of opportunity for ops. Plus, the fact that, see if I can do this, it's also a nice area where it shows off some of the nice work that Steve has done on my engines. Hard to believe that's a first generation Proto 2000 locomotive there. So, so what we're looking at here on the pretty much on the right's the diesel facility. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Okay. I have practices. And over on this side, mostly the steam facility. So once again, go ahead and as we go along here, keep track of how many different industries are in the engine facility that we can do ops on. Now, I've heard a couple of times, of course, not to my face, but through the grapevine, is that, boy, that's a really nice area, but it's a waste of space. You could have a bunch of industries there. And to those people, I'll say, Marty, you're just not thinking three-dimensionally here. There are actually, what we're going to find out is a wealth of opportunities for ops. They're just not the industries that we see on the layout, like a factory, a cement plant, oil refinery, and so on. Okay, so we'll start. And probably one of the bad things about working at a hobby shop once a week is like, oh, that looks nice. I think I could put that there, and then something better comes along, and so I had this, and Steve was saying that we need some type of like office, some mechanical type. It just wouldn't. We just wouldn't have the all this facility there and no office. So we had the idea, and we don't have a pointer. I should have had you bring your pointer. Anyways, so we had the idea. This was hanging around, and if we cut off uh, the arch there, and I apologize, I got a little ahead of myself. Most all the buildings on the whole layout, but certainly the engine facility are Walters. Uh, this used to be, I think, a Model Power mold, and then Walters bought it. But anyways, if we go ahead and cut the arch down and let Steve go to work, we have a nice mechanical office there. And one of the trademarks or signatures of Steve is to add downspouts. Something very simple, but it's kind of overlooked on a lot of models. So by adding those, some little electrical conduits and so on like that, and Steve scratched, or if you want, handed the signage there, we have a nice building. And you may recall a number of Fred's back to basics is repurposing old computer stuff like floppy disks and so on. And he said he'd mentioned that he had made a sign. He's actually made a number of signs, but uh, this is one of the signs that he made for me. And again, you probably can't see it there, but it's the typical before going into some shop, X amount of days without injuries, so on like that. So it makes a nice scene there. Mm. Oh, there you go. Fancy mouse. Oh, there you go. Okay, another group of Walter's building there, the main structure I made into a flat. You'll see a little snippet of that in a few slides. Didn't do anything with their uh, storage house there, but the uh, the boiler house and the smokestack, I think we can do something with that. Oh, I did it again. Sorry. No, no, sorry. I keep on using the
Which one? Which one do you want?
well,
That one?
well, oh, yeah. Yeah, there you go. Thanks. Sorry, guys. Not used to a fancy mouse like that. Okay, so we can turn that into our boiler house for the facility. Steve again handed the New York Central on the smokestack. Okay, so we need coal for the boiler, right? And it was scratch built like a conveyor system to go into that. So that's all good. And I had already made the pit for the coal to drop into. But then Steve was saying, well, just like our steam engines, you put coal in, it gets burned. What do you get? Ashes. So he said he made the spout there. So right now, uh, this turns out to be kind of fun for the guys during an ops that depending on how they left it the last ops, or maybe how mean I feel that day, that perhaps that we'll have a full coal hopper like that, but the gon will be full of ashes, so they'll again have to do some switching there just to get the one car out. But so again, we have a little different industry there, if you wish. So coal in, ashes out. All right, need some type of tool shed. Steve found a old MDC combine there. It just so happens had New York Central on it, kind of faded, so good. So how about that? How about we add some awnings, some little detail parts, the guys goofing off, doing checkers there. Makes nice addition to the facility. Okay, the roundhouse. Now, the roundhouse, I will say, was a dual effort. While Steve was working on the outside walls, I was working on all the supports and everything on the inside. Hmm. Once again, some of the little detail parts, the downspouts, the exhaust vents, and kind of hard to show up on uh, the slide there, but towards the back is again New York Central lettering, so brings all that out. Okay, the inside put some detail parts at the back, and you can. This is the only time that you can see, like right below the numbers of the stalls, the rope lighting to illuminate the roundhouse there. Normally, even even at my tall height, that if you're standing the aisleway, you can't see the rope lighting. So as you can see, when I took the shot to get the interior, I was, the camera was down in the pit, looking up, but normally you can't see it, but there's two strings of LED rope lighting in there to illuminate it. And I didn't put a whole lot of detail parts in the back again because they kind of get lost. And I do that every time. No, I'm doing it with my mouse. It's on the right, not the yeah. So the floor of the roundhouse, uh, I just dirtied it up a little. As you can see from the previous slide, you really can't tell uh, looking into it from the aisle side that it's looks like a dirty roundhouse floor. So this was this was good enough. And once again, I was kind of surprised that uh, at the doors how narrow it gets. So once again, you couldn't put in a whole lot of detail parts in there and let somebody see them. So okay, so uh, whether it's our diesels or our steam, we need sand for the sanders, right? So again, we took, this is not the same little shack or building from the sugar refinery there. This was a different group, but we turned that into that, added some um, uh, cylinders in the back for storing the sand. So once again, here, uh, a different industry, but we can spot our covered hopper back there. Okay, and the old ash pit. Uh, I can't, Steve, I remember the base. I think you had to do something a little different with that to make it fit.
Well, there's hardly anything on there that we didn't have to do something to.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
What we did there.
Yeah. I think to make it all fit what we needed, there was some modification to that. I did, no big deal, but I did do the scratch on the actual pits themselves there. Uh, Steve said being an ex-engineer, not in the steam age, but you have to wash out the firebox there. So I don't know if you can see it from the slide, but there's a couple of hoses to wash out the firebox there. There you go. Yeah. So we're going to leave the engine facility for just a minute.
Question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
But we have to use all on get these in hit bridge work.
So I don't know if it came out here. Craig asked, did I have to, get the saw or a scrolling saw out to do this? And it's no. So what Fred and I use is Homabed. You could do the same thing with cork. It's the Homabed is just a skosh narrower or not as high. So you don't know how deep this pit is when you fill it up with something. So all I did, and what Fred, the panels are 1/4 inch or something like that. So just go ahead and score out and take the uh, some type of chisel blade and get all the Homabed off, and so you don't know if it's 5 feet deep or so yeah, so that was pretty easy. The tough part was getting the uh evergreen rods in place there to make it realistic. Jackson?
My question is, how did you go from normal ties on both sides of this image to the one from the middle? How exactly did you do that? How did you do that? And are those supposed to, those like 3 rods in the middle supposed to represent them?
There's a kayak answering Russell.
Go ahead.
Never mind. You can go.
So
Maintain the gauge.
okay, so right, just like in real life, and I kind of shows up there a little bit, but right, you have the steel beam under the rails, right? In real life, they would be bolted down, right? These are not. In the ties, you just go ahead and it's like, okay, I need this much, and flip it up, and then take your X-Acto knife and cut the one and just cut them out, and that makes sense.
The
Yep.
rods are gauge rods.
Right.
To keep it from wandering too far apart.
Right. They're well.
That's what the rod does. Spread them over.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the rails here were CA to the evergreen, and so in real life that's correct. Here it's just for show, not for blow. So, all right.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, sure.
You've got a great look there. It looks like oil spill. What do you use to put down after you put your gravel and stuff down to give it that oily look? You remember? You're like me, it's long enough ago, you know.
Some of that is just, I think what you're seeing there, Stan, some of that is just the coal or the cinders that I used, for the ballast there that just, plopped down into the pit.
I'm talking about around the track there, it really has, and I know when I go look at your layout, your layout looks like the oil spills all through there.
Okay, well, some of that, and unfortunately, that's another thing that is no longer available, but Steve had recommended Campbell coal. And it was the right size, it looked perfect. Some of the steam locomotives that, the brass ones that he's either painted or dolled up for me in the coal bunker is that, and it really looks real. The other thing is I have used Scenic Express, not Woodland Scenics, but Scenics Express cinders, and they have some dust in it. And again, once you get it down and start atomizing it with water, some of it still splashes up and you get that effect. Yeah. All right, so we were going to leave this and we're going to go over to Albany now. And for those of you who have not been through my layout, we have an interchange over in Albany. And as you can see from the main line at the top of the station to the interchange railroad at the bottom there, it's a pretty healthy drop. So what you see in front of you there is the interchange track. It is a 4% grade, which is pretty darn healthy, but it's spread over about 12, 13 feet. And so either at the bottom or the top, we have a nice transition. So it doesn't look, even though it's a 4% grade, it doesn't look like you're on a roller coaster. Now, depending on how the crew chooses to do that, they can, and let me also say that we went along with this healthy grade because we knew that it's probably only about 4 or 5 cars that are going to be pulled up it, and the power that's stationed over in Albany can handle it just fine. But if they choose to, what I've done is have a car stop. And just like they mount a tortoise sideways for either a semaphore or a crossing gate, we did this with the pin here. I wanted the pin taller. Some guys, when they do something like this or a car stop, they usually do it where the axle stops on it. Not to say that most of my operators couldn't handle it, but sometimes I've heard over times other layouts that they forget about that. They try to pull over it. Now you have a bent pin. So I wanted it to be a coupler height. So hopefully, they knew that the pin was out, but just for extra, when the pin goes up, a flashing LED on the fascia starts blinking. So far in, I don't know how many years of ops, nobody's messed this up.
Jinx that.
Yeah. So anyways, we go back to the engine facility. So if I can solve all my electrical problems that have been cropping up, that what I want to do is do the same thing over here, where you can spot a gondola to take the ashes out that our crane is taking out of the ash pit there. So hopefully before I die, we can incorporate that. Okay, and of course, the old coaling tower, right? Same thing as our boiler plant. We're putting coal into our engines, and we have the ash pit to take it out. Again, a Walters building that Steve did. And, Stan, this is the other thing that the Campbell coal that spilled there, and one of the things that, Steve's likes, which is, pretty, true to life, obviously, is that all of our facilities, unless you have grass right up to it or concrete, is going to get over time some splashes up from the rain. And he did the weathering and everything, but here's another thing that, again, putting down the cylinders and the little lumps of coal, then as I sprayed, that helped to wash up some of the dust on the foundation there, and I think it really makes it come to life. So again, coal in, ashes out. I did do the retaining wall there. Like I said, I have done some stuff to that building. Okay, diesel refueling sand ramp. So, two of the Walthers car shops back to back. This one you see to the on the background there, in back of the signals. I had a third one over there that was kind of set back, and I have a lot of diesels, so why not? Steve says to me, how are we going to refuel these? Sand them. Well, can't we just pretend like we're pretending that the diesels are being worked on in the shop? No, 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 no. That can't do it, can't do it. So he found some diamond scale uh, sanders, refueling platforms on eBay. Uh, he had a lot of sweat equity in those because soft metal, very hard to work with. But here's the real killer here is while he was working on those at home, I was working on the base that they're going to go in. And we kept on saying, give me a measurement of this. Okay, all right. And I must say that we came on almost all of the um, towers. We were spot on. I think one I was off just a little bit, but hey, what's a 55-gallon drum for to put over a hole? So it really worked out nice, and it makes a good scene. Steve also scratched the additional lighting that is affixed on the uh, diesel shop there to mirror what was on the uh, refueling platforms. So a little different view of that. Like I said, we had four towers to get exactly right, and then the walkway from tower to tower that just sets into place there. But
Russell,
yes,
what you don't see to the immediate left of this photo is what we fondly refer to as the hellhole.
Yeah.
And that's the pop-up where Russ would get.
I'm going to show. Yeah, I'm going to show that. I'm going to show that. Yeah. If you can see, yeah, what Steve was saying, it's asphalt. There's one little car there. That's the lift out. The other thing that on this shot is that the vents on top of uh, the car shop there, they don't come with that. These were the right vents. I don't know what kit they came from. I looked at this. They are not the Walthers roof detail vents and so on. So unfortunately, 6 is all I could find in my stash there. Wish we had a couple more rows to make it mow better, but oh well, that's what we got. So, and there you go. So this was what Steve was alluding to while he was out there. I was in the hellhole, and he was handing me obviously the platforms on the shot haven't been finished yet, but that's how we got that done. And that was a good number of years ago. I don't think that I can fit in the hellhole anymore. So, yeah, you know what? So we started working on this layout 18 years ago. And so it's like at that time, it's like, yeah, sure, no problem. I got a lot of room here. So I hope that I'll have to go on a big diet to if I have to get back there and do that. Okay, another one of the Walters building with a Continental machine tool and so on. If we do a little presto changeo, how about that? So right, so in our engine facility, we certainly have to have a lot of parts to service our diesel and steam locomotives and everything. So we need some store for it. So again, a little extra here and there, some awnings, some scratch lettering there, and we have a nice building. Right now, you can see the old shop that Steve said had to go. And I go, okay, well, it looks pretty good there and nothing. And then you'll see that, of course, when we put in the signals, oh no, that was the signals would butt right up against the wall. So again, moi had to cut it down a little bit more to accommodate the signals. But going back to our doing ops, so the store there to we got to get all our parts somehow. So again, we can spot one or two cars in there. What we saw on the other slide. I mean, we can truck it in or truck it out too. But again, here's a good example that we have one or two box cars that we can spot there. You'll see just to the far right. It's not finished yet, but there's that sugar refinery in one of the first slides that I said made into a flat. So that seems to be working pretty nicely there. Okay, so we have coal to feed our steam, but we also need, diesel fuel for our diesel. So a couple of ricks, they call them oil tanks. Steve found a couple of O-scale central heralds there, so put on that. Moi still has to work on a lot of the piping where the tank cars are spotted right now. But again, for ops, everybody knows where it's supposed to go. We have a ready track. I wish it were longer, but on the other hand, that most of the power stays gone all ops on different runs, whether they be a through or a switching duty. So not too much of it sticks around there. Okay, so we talked about, even though we don't have our typical layout industries on there, but we had the coal in, ash out for the boiler house, sand for sanding, coal in for our tipple, ashes out, supplies for the storehouse, and then diesel to be stored for our diesel refueling. So as you can see, that not only is this I think it's a good scene. It's a good place to park our motive power when we're either done or when we're ready to send out a train to grab there. But you can see that there's a lot of opportunity for ops in this area. And depending on how efficient, how awake the crew is that does this, it usually takes them about 45 minutes to an hour to do the switching that we just saw here. Okay, so So there you go. It really is a fun opportunity for ops. Guys seem to like it. So thoughts, suggestions, questions?
Russ,
Yes, sir.
it's the first time I've thought about the supply aspect of a maintenance facility. But it seems to me that if you're gonna be maintaining a group of engines, whether they be diesel or steam, takes an enormous amount of parts for there to be a storage, go get this, we need one of these, we need one of these. And I've not thought about ever, or have I seen the so-called building that sits there behind the scenes that fills itself with all those parts. You know, the reality is, you know what I'm saying, you can't just, call up Amazon and get one, right?
Well, not now anyways, but
Yeah. Or yeah, can't just call them up and get a part. So there needs to be some kind of a relatively good sized supply.
Yeah.
All that stuff kind of comes in and it gets packaged and sorted.
well, exactly. And that's why Steve made me spend my money. So hold on 1 minute. Jeff. But, a lot of people come in the shop and want to do a roundhouse. And I can't, I asked him, well, how much space do you have? And I said, unless you're only going to have a 2-stall roundhouse, it's not going to make it. This facility takes a lot of real estate. I gave this talk for the New York Central Historical Society last month, and I thought somebody might ask me, but if we went back, I don't want to. Can we go back to like one of the first slides, or do you have to?
No, let's do this.
Okay, let's do this.
It's a slideshow. And it stops.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No,
mean to,
no, you're
You
fine.
know,
What slide do you want to go to?
probably like you keep going back. Let's do this one.
You said back.
Yeah, watch your eyes, guys. Keep going. Keep going. I think one more. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, sir. So I put the tape to it. So just a little bit past on the right is the aisleway. So if I put the tape across the roundhouse, it's 6 feet. If I came the other way across it, it's about 6 feet. So this facility takes a lot of real estate. So yeah, and I mean, I obviously have the real estate, and so that's why, some of you can see some, that's what Steve was saying, like some of the dead spaces there, like, let's put the tool shed, the mechanical office and so on like that. And it does kind of fill in the areas and makes a nice scene. But yeah, I mean, if you have the real estate and I think a lot of it is you could not have the mechanical office and have, a shop or something like that. All sorts of ways you can work that in.
Because you've got the largest turn, you got the 130-foot turntable.
Yeah,
So that takes up even
yeah,
more space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Steve, hold on a second. I think Jackson was next.
So my question is this, as a member of the New York Central Historical Society, how did you, and knowing the information about the location, and how did you incorporate like the
Okay,
historical aspect of for this?
0. That's when I gave this talk to the boys before I started, I said, and just like any other clinic or talk at some convention, Russ Weis giving this, blah, 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 a little description. I said to the group before I started, I said, now I want to tell you this. I don't know how well you read the description, but this in no way, fashion or ever. I said, I don't even know what's in Buffalo. This is not it. So if this is what you're expecting to see, go to the next classroom there. This is my Buffalo engine facility. So again, for those of you that don't know, the focal point of the layout is Buffalo, New York. We had to have an engine facility, so it's my Buffalo engine facilities. Yeah, yeah, and a lot of it, I don't think I ever gave it for you guys, but I do one for the society. My New York Central flavored layout that the layout was built for ops. And what we try to do is put little scenes like over in Albany. If you look at any central pictures that have the trackside looking at the station, down a ways is McKesson's. And it's a big building, big letters, McKesson's. They were never served by rail, but they are on mine. So, again, to incorporate the ops into a layout, we try to do a little bit of snippets to make you feel like you're in Albany, in Syracuse, and so on, like that. So, Bob?
What crew would switch the operation, the hostlers or the yard crew?
Actually, a turn crew. All right. Again, the layout was built for ops. Let's give them some ops. And what we over the months really is that, and Fred's been very generous to once we incorporated dispatching capabilities that, after the ops, we talk about it. And we used to call it, well, we still call it the West Buffalo turn, but we've divided it out to the left here that you can't see is some more industries in West Buffalo. And to do all this in those industries, their train was getting kind of long. And then like to do the boiler house, they have to come out on the main. So they have to get permission from Fred to do that. And if their train got too long, this is the main coming off of both Detroit and Cleveland staging. So he needs to have at least one main clear so we can route trains around this. So then and it kind of gets complicated, and we were finding that it was taking the crews almost all the ops night to do this. So we said, okay, how about we cut this in half. We cut the Syracuse turn in half to where we do the north side or the south side. And it seems to have worked out much better where we're giving the guys that are running trains and the ones that are doing the turns, when they're done with the turn, we put them on running trains and then put the other ones on the other half of the turn, and it seems to work out quite fine to give somebody. We still on time? Good on time. Somebody, matter of fact, I think it was this guy right here, wanted to know if we had a hostler, and maybe that would be a good job, because those of you that don't know, this is in the far left side of the layout. The freight yard is way at the other side, and the trick is then they have to get permission. Mike is almost always our station master. So they got to coordinate with him to work his way down through the passenger station to tie on to their train. And I thought that would be a good idea. But then, for those of you that don't know the layout, probably well, I know for sure, the tightest part of the layout is right off of there. And so to have some guy standing by just to wait to bring either a train down or an engine down to the yard or from the yard back here, it would just kind of, I don't want to say a waste of time, but I don't think it would be the most efficient way to have a member, doing that. Plus the fact that, what's that?
I said he'd just be in the way most.
Well, I was trying to be diplomatic about that, Steve, but yeah. But again, everybody that's working the passenger station and the freight yard, there's probably 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 guys. And then right on the other side of the aisle is Syracuse. So it gets rather tight there. And to have another guy running a engine down to again, it just wouldn't work out. Great idea, just wouldn't work out that well. Yes, sir.
Well, I just wanted to point out and congratulate Russell and Stan White, mainly. Because one of the things that miracle that he managed to pull off was before this all got finished, what you have is a city scene, and most cities are laid out with rectangular blocks and straight lines. And so how do you make a corner with a coved corner, a rounded corner, look like a straight city scene? And so Russell came up with the idea of putting these, the factory buildings in the background. And they're just, if I'm not mistaken, they're cut out and glued up there. And just to look at them, it makes a huge difference on how good that corner was. It would be the same without them. So good thinking, Russell.
Well, again, I have a guy, and Stan and I in this, I can't remember, right off the hand, but on Stan's layout, he has a different backdrop company that works really, really well with the buildings he has. These seem to work out well with mine. And they come on a 4-foot sheet. And so then we kind of, Stan and I got together and before we glue them up there is that, it's like, what do you think here? And, we literally cut and pasted to where we thought would make a pretty realistic backdrop. But let me say this to you, that I have a presentation. Again, I don't think I gave it to you guys. I think I gave it to the society, building of Dunkirk. A lot of times, what we did was Dunkirk, New York is like about 30 miles or so west of Buffalo. So this is where it goes into staging. And mostly Bob Kukler's work, and Stan has helped out there too. But the building of this is nice, kind of fun, because fun presentation. It wasn't fun to do, but where it goes into staging, it's a 90-degree wall. And then shortly after that, it's a rounded wall. So and the city of Dunkirk is, diagonal. So it was a real group effort to try to again round out how to soften up the 90-degree And then how do you end your road when the walls curve there? So it really came out nice, and sometime down the road, if you guys like to see that, but both Bob and Stan, really helped out a lot on making that scene really, really nice too, which is why I wanted to give them credit, today. Like I said, it just so happens that the engine facility was one of the first areas that were really tackled to be finished, so to speak, and the rest kind of fell into place later on. So, other questions or?
Yeah, I got one and it's not from a train area. I knew. Okay, however, 40 years ago, I worked for UK Civil Engineering. And I worked with a guy who did concrete. And he used fly ash, which is what you're gathering, in concrete. Is there, how do you get rid of the ash when you have to move it on your layout?
Well, there's only the two spots that, well, and actually, like I said, the one that if I get my T Heine going, that, I'll get the car stop there for it. It's in Gons, and the ash that I use is just when we had a charcoal grill, it's just, I think this would come in. Yeah.
So what I'm saying though is there be maybe an opportunity to ship that to a concrete facility somewhere somebody building a layout.
I got it. Okay.
I know concrete can use ash for that as an additive.
Sure. I mean,
we use fly ash and spent bed to make concrete blocks.
yeah, I mean, again, there, what's the, what was the, presenter that we had that did, all four that? Yeah, that guy.
Rich Mahoney.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
No,
Rich was,
stay home, Charlie.
they were, he had, his plan changed. Our plans changed. Fred brought him to the house and, then embarrassed me the next day that, he said, so, here's a tank car at Russ's, Sherwin-Williams plant there, and it's like, oh, man. And, his point was, that one presentation was try to, get the right car to the right industry. I mean, some of it's obvious, but like you were saying that, Jim Petro, who will be here next month, he has something where he scratch built, so he has a cement plant. But then he found out that where they bag the cement needs to go in a boxcar, so there you have it. So, in other words, so now, not only does, he have, like the materials going in for the cement, but then once it's, whatever bagged and everything, it can go out on a boxcar. So, yeah, I mean, you just want to try to fit the car to the industry that, yeah. And Rich and I kind of argued, my thought was I have a couple of paint cars, and well, if it's certainly that there's some type of bad stuff that they're delivering liquid wise to Sherwin-Williams chemicals or something to make the paint. So, and he went along with that. Okay. But so yeah, that's the only thing is try to do your best to fit the car you're going to spot there to the industry. Sure. Anybody else? Well, thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
And we're done. With that, we're done. Thank you, everyone, for joining online.
Thank you.